And a good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone tuning in. My name is Sister Sophia, coming from the San Francisco Bay Area, where today our topic is going to be photography tips. I'm excited because, this is a topic or it's actually a hobby and a skill that so many are really interested in, especially here in our district. So excited to have a conversation with our panelists today. Could our panelists go ahead and introduce themselves? How about our sister? If we could start off and maybe say your name, locale, and anything else that you want to mention about photography.
And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our viewers and listeners here at INC Radio San Francisco. I'm Sister Jill Navaska from the locale of Redwood City. And as far as photography, I think I want to say, I took this a while back as part of my curriculum in school, but how much it has changed. And I think we're going to learn so much today of how much it's changed. Everyone's a photographer, right? That's the
Mhm.
idea. But what is it really? I think what's really interesting about this topic is like, yeah, everyone's a photographer, but I bet there are some tips and tricks that we still haven't learned yet, right? And so let's introduce our subject matter expert for today.
I wouldn't say expert Paul, but hello Paul, hello everybody. My name is Brother Dennis Fajardo. I'm from the locale of San Jose. I've been doing photography on and off probably since 14, so that's about shucks, how old am I? Like 13 years now. But I've been doing it semi-professionally, doing portrait shoots, landscape, street photography for about a year and a half now.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know, Brother Dennis, just how long you were keeping up the hobby of photography. That's exciting.
Yeah, it
And
was more like a way to get out of the house kind of thing.
What did you
awesome.
start out with? What
Oh,
camera?
technically it wasn't mine. It was more of a family owned camera. It was the Canon 1000D. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it was like made in 2000 something. But yeah,
Mhm.
that was my first camera I ever had.
Wow, that's really cool. And so you kind of mentioned it was ways that you would get out of the house. Was there a
Hmm.
specific type of photography that you started, like a type of subject that you like to take photos of? How did
It
it
was
kind of start off for you?
so it was more I just wanted to capture people's smiles. Whenever I would go to whenever we were invited to an event, in like maybe church events, stuff like that, I just brought my camera out with me and I just like
Aw, awesome. So
yeah,
people smiles. That's a really wholesome answer, brother.
yeah.
Would you say you like portrait photography or like event photography? Which one do you kind of
Um,
enjoy?
well, I've done both of them, but what I mostly enjoy doing is street photography a lot, actually, and that's actually maybe 80% of all the work that I do.
Mm.
I just like to go out there and explore. It's like kind of like the mentality of getting out of the house, but also exploring what I'm near at, and then finding out what's beautiful about it.
Oh, that's really cool. So kind of like, yeah, looking at your surroundings and seeing
Hmm.
what you can document from there. And if you are tuning into the live chat, go ahead and tell us what kind of photos, what kind of photography you really enjoy doing too. If you're someone who maybe has experience professionally or even is trying to take it up as a hobby. And I think, Sister Jill, we already have a couple of shout outs coming in too that we can go ahead and check out. Let's see. We have Brother Nathaniel Russell who says greetings from South Central States. Eileen Capuyan, happy viewing Paul from San Pablo, Northwest California. We also have Brother Darwin Lee who says greetings to everyone from the Lee family from the local congregation of Burlingame. Let's see, who else do we have in the chat? We have Michelle Gamab, a rainy Saturday morning po tuning in from the locale of San Pablo, NWC. Shaylin Cruz, good morning po everyone and happy viewing. Brother Israel Kapuyan, good AM po everyone here from San Pablo, NWC. So Sister Kim Gallego, hello everyone watching from Burlingame, NWC. And Brother Kenneth, this is true. It's a very cold and rainy morning for us here in San Francisco today. He says, a good cold morning to everyone and to our INC radio host. Happy watching. Thanks
But
so much for tuning in already. And again, if you guys have tips on photography, please send them over, or even questions about photography, go ahead and send them over in our chat book.
I do like the fact that we have someone from our South Central states. That's awesome. Thank you for tuning in, brother. Also, speaking of styles of photography in the chat, Ka Kim Galevos mentioned about street photography because Kai Dennis, you do that's probably like you said 80%. Now, for those who are like street photography, what does that really entails? I know as we talked about different photography, you brought up street photography. Someone in the chat brought up street photography. What how would you explain that to, those who are like, what does that mean?
So the way that I always explain it to new people, because people are always like, because street photography is more of an abstract concept as opposed to something that's concrete, like portrait shoots. The way that I like to explain it to like the newer people is you're just kind of like a fly on the wall. So you're kind of documenting everybody, like everyone's daily lives in a way that is realistic, at least to me, and is something along like yeah like the normal lives of everyday people. So it kind of just happens whether or not you're there, but also you're also there to document that as well.
And what have you captured in what is one of your favorite, I guess, like I think this when you say fly on the wall, street photography, and just it's just passing you by, you're watching everything that's happening. Can you think of like maybe one photo that stood out or that's memorable or that you found like a happy accident on?
So I don't actually have it on me as an example because it's actually on my main computer. But during the Lunar New Year here, especially in San Jose and in Grand Century area, there's a lot of people that celebrate the Lunar New Year there, and there was actually one of them that like the image itself. Actually, let me pull it, like if I can pull it out of my. So there was this one person. They were wearing the owl dye, and I just thought that it looked really nice, and I photographed that. Give me 1 second.
So
Yeah,
as
or maybe
you
in a future
Oh
broadcast
yeah,
you
gotcha. Yeah,
Dennis.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
and
we
as
can
yeah.
see as well. Yeah. But that's really
Yes.
cool that you're able to, capture kind of moments where
Awesome.
people
Yeah.
are able to gather together and celebrate and everything.
Yeah. So
Yes.
the way that like an example or something is it's just whatever catches the photographer's eye, whether it be the way that people dress, the way like what they're doing at the moment, if they're working or if they're running to because they're running late to a like a business meeting or something along those lines. It could be a lot of things actually.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be people. It could just be almost anything that's outside. As you mentioned earlier, you did it to go outside. So whatever captures, I guess, whatever catches your eye, right? Is that kind of
Yes.
how you would kind of consider some the street photography style that you've been taking, right?
Yes.
And for those who are on the live chat, please send in your favorite styles, and so we could talk more about it. Maybe find out more what are some of your tips.
Yeah,
Photography,
definitely. And
and
yeah, yeah, you know what, Jill? We have a couple coming in too, actually, now that I'm checking out the live chat. Well, first off, greetings from Brother Jordan and DK, who says, Happy viewing all the way from North and South Dakota. And Brother
Dang.
Jessica Mob shared with us that
Ooh.
he enjoys photos of the sunrise. That's really nice, Paul, being able to take sunrise photos. And I agree, some landscape photos are really, really fun to take. Sister Charlie says, Hello, INC Radio San Francisco, watching from Burlingame. I love taking candid and scenic photos. And
nice.
I think I saw one
Kenneth
from Brother.
also mentioned nighttime street photography. That
Ooh.
must be a little bit trickier nighttime when you have to worry about lighting and so on. So Ken,
Yeah,
Ken, you better
definitely.
give us some tips here on the chat.
I was going to say that same thing, Brother Kenneth, if you could also share with us what kind of tips and, ways you have to prepare to
For
be able to
nighttime, I know
take,
it's different.
yeah,
Sunrise
nighttime.
is, daytime again, just being outdoors. I know lighting plays a factor as well in photography and how to shoot it properly or shoot it well, I think. And I know for starters, if correct me if I'm wrong, for starters, outdoor lighting is probably your best lighting at to start out with because it has less technical, um, I guess, aspect to it because you're using just natural light. So, what is that something you would want to add on to, Dennis?
So I actually like doing nighttime street photography just because I feel like it's a little bit more fun in the sense that you get to see a lot of people like, oh, they're done with their 9 to 5 and then they want to go and have fun. So I get more um candid reactions from everybody doing that way. So in terms of the technical aspects, like everyone's mentioned, don't shoot in like super dark areas. Kind of just makes sense. So just look for like the artificial light that you have and work with what you got. Work with what you have.
Very nice.
Mhm,
I like
awesome.
that tip.
Yeah, I know you've been in daytime too. From some of my photographer friends, I hear they talk about, preferring soft lighting to harsh lighting. Brother Dennis, could you tell us a little bit about what that means as well?
So in the technical aspects, you when they talk about harsh lighting, they're just trying to make sure that their highlights aren't blown out. So if you look at an image and it's just bright white, then that's what it translates to because it's just not appealing to look at, especially if it's just bright like light everywhere. And also, harsh lighting can also create unwanted shadows on, especially if you're doing like portraiture. It just creates like that raccoon eye look.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like you have like really dark shadows or shadows in areas that doesn't really aren't supposed to go there, kind of thing. So it's just unflattering if you look at it from your point of view.
Got it. Yeah, so especially with portraits and things, you want to make sure you're, yeah, getting the right kind of lighting. Do you ever do like landscape photography or try to get, outdoor photography like that as well?
I tried it. I tried to. It's just that sometimes it just doesn't work out for me. I don't know why. Um, Most of the time that my compositions are off, or some people just find it like, oh, it's just a building, like you know what I mean. So I don't think I have found my style or niche yet when it comes to landscape photography, but I'm working on it.
Awesome. That's cool though. And it's awesome because there's just so many types of photography that you can really explore in a lot of ways to be creative with it. Sister Kim also shared in the chat, I love film photography. It's always a nice surprise to see what you
Ooh.
capture when your film gets developed, which is so true because, with film, it's like a one shot and then you see it like however long later, right? Do you have any types of equipment, Brother Dennis, that you really enjoy being able to use, whether it be more film or more digital, or what do you
Um,
kind of keep on board all the time when you're doing photography?
so one of the things that I really dislike about film is how expensive it can be, especially since you're doing like the roll every time. So I I'm like I will come back to it at some point, but for right now, I'm strictly shooting in digital.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. And digital even has so many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like there's a little
Technical
point and shoot.
application.
That was my like
Yes.
first experience with photography. I don't know if you had one of those too at Digital, like the little I don't even know what they're called. Just a point and
Yeah,
shoot
the little
camera,
digital
little
camera that's not
rectangle.
in your phone. That is that
Yeah.
is your point and shoot. And I had several of those definitely. I started out with I've had also practice with film and then of course with digital technology for photography how much it's changed photo and take and how taking photos. Anyway, right now funny enough the digital photos that I have one that's still working, thankfully, but my daughter's using it, and they're walking around with this like point and shoot camera, and instead of it having on their phone, I think one because well, at least for my kids, they take so many photos on their phone that it they lose storage so quickly. So I think the point and shoot has been a little bit of a saver for their I guess storage because um, they're taking different types of photos and having fun with it and not worrying so much about storage.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I just remember when those were starting off as a trend, like it would be something you could spend hours with your friends just taking these photos with point and shoots. And yeah, I agree now at the Jill, a lot of people are taking more photos with more point and shoots, and it's really fun to be able to have those and see photos that look different than just, the regular telephone photos as
Yeah,
well.
it does.
Yeah.
It does create. I think for the point and shoot, I remember looking through some of the photos that my daughter was taking, and it created a blur. Not that you couldn't do that with your cell phone, but for whatever reason, there are some certain settings that you're on a point and shoot. You're messing around with filter. You're just having fun, or at least they're having fun with all the settings that they have. My point and shoot actually has even a manual setting that you can sort of play around with that no one really understands, but if you just play around with it and start getting some fun or interesting photos that you capture, it's a happy accident, I think, when you get these photos, right? And then you have these photos, and I think with the phone they're a little bit more worried about, oh, getting just the right shot, and it's really about faces. It's about people, because you're on your phone and you want to share it with friends. Where I feel like a point and shoot kind of lends itself to other types of photography, because you're walking around with it, and it's independent from phone calls or texting or other social media that's on a phone. So I do think there's a little bit of a resurgence in a point and shoot camera and how much fun it can actually be.
Yeah, resurgence. That's a really good word for it, not to chill. How about for you, Brother Dennis? What kind of gear do you like to use when it comes to, your digital photography?
So personally, for me, I don't have. I think I sold my point and shoot like a long time ago. I think it was like maybe 8 years ago. So ever since I switched to digital, and then I switched to mirrorless. But the one thing that I do enjoy the most is not necessarily what type of camera body that I'm rocking with. It's more the lens choices for me. So I like shooting with the 35 full frame equivalent and then an 85 as well.
Okay. Can you kind of describe a little too
Oh,
about what
sorry.
those terms mean? Because, for me, I am still learning lenses. I just know the smaller it is, the wider it is, right? Or I could
Yes,
be totally
yes.
wrong.
Yes. Yeah. So the bigger the number is, that usually means how tight the shot is. So if we were talking about so just think of it as distance. So an 85 will capture more of your subject, and then a 35 will capture more of your will capture more of the background too. So the shorter your number is, the more background you capture as well.
Got it. Okay, good to know. And there's another term too that I hear a lot of photographers use, the mirrorless and the mirror. What does that mean in camera
Oh, the
speak as well?
DSLR. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
yeah, when
DS.
it comes
Yeah.
to DSLR.
Yeah, so the biggest difference between DSLR and mirrorless is that DSLR, they have a mirror that shuts open and close, depending when you open your shutter or not. So it just the way that it just works is that when you're looking through the viewfinder, you're actually looking through it through the mirror as opposed to the sensor. And then in mirrorless, that's like the name suggests, there's no mirror in it, so you're strictly looking at, if you're looking through the viewfinder, like when you point the camera to your face, you're actually looking at it from the sensor's point of view. So that's the one of the things that, like, big difference, like, without getting into technicalities.
Yeah, that's really interesting though. Would you kind of, I mean, maybe even be able to briefly describe why some photographers would prefer one to the other? That might be
Ooh,
deep, but I'm also just really
ooh.
curious. And if anyone has any, comments in the live chat
Um,
who wants to kind of share their preferences too.
it's not the one of the biggest, at least for me, biggest upgrades from going from a digital, from going from a DSLR to a mirrorless is the form factor. Majority of DSLRs are actually really like big, because there's a lot of pieces to it as opposed to a mirrorless where it's just the sensor and then that's it.
Mm,
So in terms of technical applications, the mirrorless are just quieter, so there's a lot more applications to it as you shoot with it, as opposed to a DSLR, which is kind of non-silent. So let's say you're shooting at a wedding, and they're making a speech. You don't want to interrupt that with the ping, 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 stuff like that. So
That's real. Oh, okay. So sizing and also the sound and
mhm.
wow, that's really interesting, Brother Dennis. I know there's so
The-
many details to cameras that I feel like I'm just barely learning, barely kind of scraping the surface with. So that's really awesome. And we have oh yeah, yeah, go for it,
Well, no,
Auntie
I just
Jill.
wanted to ask, for, so as we're talking about the different gears, I know there are some people in the chat, but what are other tips? Okay, so as far as photography tips, if someone
Ooh.
as someone were to just, besides their phone, besides a phone, what do you think is a fun way or a good way to sort of get started in just photography and and the equipment maybe that they could look into.
So yeah, so one of the things I always tell like people who come ask me like in my DMs or in my website, what are like some of the good like beginner like cameras to start with? Um the thing is, um I'm a big fan of gear is not somewhat important. So you can shoot with whatever you want. You can shoot with whatever you have on you, and ideally, it's the if you're just starting off, you already have $1,000 phone. You already have $1,000 camera in your back pocket. You know what I mean? So it's always nice to start off and then just go out there and take beautiful pictures of whatever that interests you.
Great tip. I love that because it's not. You're right. It's we already all are carrying our own camera, right? We
Mhm.
are all. I don't think there is one phone unless you're old school and using a flip phone. But everyone right now has a smartphone with a built-in camera. So that's a great tip. It's really just go out there and start taking photos, right?
Yes.
Awesome. That's a great tip.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, photography is really something that you can practice and get so much better at. I have a couple of friends who, I've seen their photos from like years ago and they were good, but now their photos years after have really, really improved. And do you have any tips too, Brother Dennis, about maybe those who feel very beginner in their photography but want to be able to practice and get better at it?
Um, So actually, there's actually just two things when it comes to just getting better. And number one is find out like photographers. Oh, sorry, just go through Instagram, go through Pinterest, see the type of photos that those photographers are taking, and see like how can I recreate this and stuff like that. And then the second one is go out there and shoot. You're never. Well, this is one of the things that I really wanted to emphasize last year and this year as well. Is that if I'm never gonna go out there and shoot, how am I gonna get better at it?
That's a good one. Go out there and shoot. Yeah. That's a good one too to kind of find your inspiration and see what kind of photos you might want to take. And also I think communicating, it's actually really great to see how much of a community photographers have within the Bay Area especially, right? Like there's a lot of photography meetups, a lot of and especially within the church in multimedia, there's a lot of really, really knowledgeable photographers and brethren who participate in it. So that's another invitation too. If anyone wants to be able to learn more about photography and maybe improve their skills, join us in the multimedia, and it'll
Yeah,
also be a great.
it really is a great practice, right? Just to go out and just start taking photos and see how it goes. Yes, and all those are assignments for media and taking photos is part of all that of taking photos, taking making sure you're getting the right photos, or even just practicing your skills. I like that the other photographers in are so open about information, and that if you reach out, if you go through and find out some of the photographers that maybe have caught your eye or inspires you in their style. And I think if you just, besides trying to replicate their style, but also going out and asking them directly question, how to do it. That's so good to hear that they're probably so ready to just share knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks again, Brother Dennis, for joining us and
No
sharing
problem.
some of your insight with us. I mean, it's definitely something I want to be able to practice and learn, and I'm sure so many more in the chat might also want to be able to start picking up photography. And man, that's about the start of wrapping it up for our show. Of course, this show will still be on YouTube. Please keep sharing the link. If you're not yet subscribed to INC Radio, please go ahead and also make sure you are subscribed. And we also do have an activity that we will be having here in our district of Northwest California that we are all looking forward to, which is actually our CFO Day. So that will be May 12th. And I believe Clea Tech, if you could go ahead and show our CFO Day promo as well. That'll be May 12th, Sunday at 4 o'clock p.m.
Yeah.
at Athen Downs Park in San Ramon.
I
So
think
here's the
they
info
should
for as well.
register. I believe there's a registration link,
Yes.
so everyone we encourage. I mean, yes, please come, but also if you can also register, there is a link that's coming from, I believe it's been sent out. So please don't forget to register for this activity.
Yeah, and if you're watching right now, go ahead and write this down. It's nwccfo.com/CFO today. Again, that's nwccfo.com/CFO today. So we really hope that, all of you can make it out to this activity. It's gonna feel like a family event, I think, with all the games, all the food, hopefully the warm sunshine that we'll also have by next
I
weekend as
know,
well.
and not raining.
Yeah.
Not cold and
Definitely.
raining.
I know, I think today is just the one really rainy day we
Yeah.
had
So odd.
throughout this week.
And
So,
it's been warm the last few days. And
yeah,
then suddenly it's cold again and rainy.
right? Feels like a spring storm all of a sudden. But hey, great way to, kind of stay inside, rewatch INC Radio while the rain is outside. Well, thank you so much, Auntie Jill and Brother Dennis, for joining us today. And of course, thank you so much to all our viewers and listeners throughout our district of Northwest California. We also wanted to go ahead and give our thank yous to our multimedia advisor, Brother Sean Adams, to our CFO overseer, Brother Alex Laredo, and to our district supervising minister, Brother Jojo Bayani. Thank you also so much to our executive producer, Brother Manley Andaya, who helped us out today, as well as to our Clea Tech, who helped us out also. And also, we'd like to go ahead and extend our thank yous to our Subsea CEO and CFO coordinator, Brother Angelo Manalo, as well as to our executive minister, Brother Eduardo Vivadalo. Thank you so much, both, for your support and help on shows like INC Radio. And we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast. Next up will be INC Radio Texas. See you next time, Paul.
Next one we'll see their pictures, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully we'll get to share everyone's photos after today.
Yeah, more photos.